Welcome to Sunday Morning Gear Reviews. Again, I am excited to bring you some of the stuff that I use and why, and do some gear reviews on it. You know, I'm not huge on gear reviews, but today I want to talk to you about why I switched to the Modlite OKW Head on my defensive rifle light. Big Tex Outdoors has holsters, accessories, optics, and other parts that you need as a self-defender. I'm one of his customers and I recommend him highly. Check out the page on our website with our favorite deals. Once again, I just want to say thanks to Ike and his team at Big Tex Outdoors for sponsoring these gear reviews. And I love Ike. I love the products that they put out. I have bought several of them, and his ships fast. His stuff is great, and I am really excited to have him as a sponsor. All right. So let's talk about this. You guys might have seen my defensive rifle on the channel occasionally, and I haven't done a ton, but we are going to start doing some defensive rifle stuff. What we have here is my HK-MR556A1, and it's been all Geisley'd up and all that stuff. So it's got a Geisley rail. It's got a Geisley super semi-automatic trigger in it. Geisley 1.93 mount. I'm currently testing this Arrowhead from Swamp Fox Optics. Don't have a whole lot to say about that yet. So far, so good. But, you know, hey, charging handle, all that stuff. It's got a just enough stretch, a limited stretch sling from Wilderness Tactical on it because I really love running those. You saw that last week on the channel. And I am running a pistol or a rifle mounted light, which I think every single home defense rifle absolutely needs a white light on it. And the one that I've been running is a Surefire M600 dual fuel. Why? Because I think that it runs great, runs on a single 18650 that's rechargeable. And with the rechargeable in it, it runs 1500 lumens, and that's pretty baller. Now, if you know me, you know that I'm a fan of lumens, right? I like to illuminate things. And when I was running last year, the Surefire Shoothouse Bonanza, and we were talking about, talking with Bill Blowers and Bill Rapier and talking with people who know. I know some people are like, oh, John, if you're inside, 1500 lumens is too much. Tells me you haven't done a whole lot of force on force, quite frankly, and you haven't done a whole lot of low light training. When you've done that, we've run these 1500 lumen lights through houses with bright reflective walls and all those things and never had any problems. So I like all the lumens because I want to be able to see what's going on in my world, and I'm not creeping in as a ninja to do any kind of, you know, infiltration stuff. I'm defending my home and my property. So I think having a bright light is important, and I do love this Surefire M600 dual fuel. Put the 18650 in it. I also like the tape switch, and the reason I like the tape switch is, as you would expect, so that I can use the rifle when it's shouldered. So you guys know I'm left-handed. What the tape switch allows me to do is, rather than play clicky games, as a lefty, actually have the light on the other side of the rifle so that it just stays out of my field of view, out where I can put my hand wherever I want it, and that puts me a good spot for my thumb. Now when I come up here, then what I can do is again, I can see everything I need to see, get in my scope, do all the stuff I need to do, and if I need light, boom, there it is. So I just go, oh, that's as much light as I need for as much time as I need it, let it go after that. Oh, light, no light. Oh, light, no light. I can run through, do those things, because you're probably not going to leave your light on for all that much time. If you want to, it's got clicky as well, so you can go clicky on, clicky off. But I like the on-off feature on the tape switch, and so I really think that having something like this is baller. Now that said, I recently switched to the Modlite OKW Head on this light, and I think it's actually kind of an important change for me, and it's a good change for me, and I'm going to keep it. And again, no problems with what we had. I'm going to show you the differences here because I have maintained this is the original Surefire Head. And there is a significant difference between lumens and candela, and those differences are important when we're talking about illumination. So there's a bunch of stuff. My friend Richard from Guns, Holsters, and Gears has done all kinds of stuff with lights. He talks about lux and candela and lumens and the difference between them. But to give you a little primer, lumens is the pure output of photons from the LED. These are all LEDs. There's a little LED inside there. And the number of lumens that a light has is the number of photons that it's putting out in a given time. And so this head right here is a 1500 lumen head if you're using the rechargeable battery, 1200 if you're using the CR123s. This Modlite's only 680. But the difference is this head here puts out about 12,800 candela. This one, on the other hand, 69,000 candela. And that makes for a very different beam, as I'm going to show you. So let's start with the Surefire head. So I'm gonna pop this Modlite head off. It's pretty simple to transition between them, and I don't think you have to be stuck to one or the other if you don't want to. You just unscrew one, screw the other on. It's that simple. Very easy to do. It doesn't screw with the O-ring on there, and so all that stuff stays really good. And again, if I had this light, this Surefire light, man, I don't got no problems with it. It's not a bad light at all. Let me kind of show you what it does. Now then, here we are in a lit studio, right? But even in a lit studio, I'm gonna step off and show you that you can even kind of see a little bit, and then when I dim the lights, you'll be able to really see it. So right there, you can see, just because of the way that the iPhone that I'm recording on shows it, you can see what the light that this one puts out. Now I'm gonna dip this down, and you can start to see just a little bit of the edge, but it's a little too lit to see that. So I'm gonna show you though, that you have this kind of nice general spot, not a real hot spot, and it's a nice general kind of beam. It's gonna illuminate everything around you pretty well. All right, let's put the Modlite head on, see what that looks like. So what you can see here is you can definitely see on the camera how much more focused the beam is here, even in light. You can see that there is a lot more hot spot here. Okay, let us turn the lights off and figure out how this is going to look with no lights on, or less lights. So here you can see, this is the Modlite head again, and now with less light on, I just have some, general illumination in the room. What you can see here is you can see we have this very bright hot spot, and we're gonna see how far that throws later, but what I want you to notice is how determined it is. So what you see out here is the fact that it doesn't throw around too much. Now, so you can see the edge of that beam there, right here, that's only a few feet up from where my light is. So you can see where that light kind of pattern ends with this OKW head. Back to the Surefire head. So now you can see a much brighter, a broader beam rather, not a brighter beam, a broader beam. So it's not nearly the hot spot, and you can see how much farther that beam extends. It's much brighter around it. So you got a lot more spill in this light, not as much throw. Well, let's turn the lights off completely in here and see if we can see a significant difference in how much we can see when we're not pointing the gun at things, because of course we don't want to muzzle something that doesn't need to be shot. You can't see me at all. Okay, so here I am. I'm going to be at a low ready, and if I light things up, you can see now that you can see me pretty well. And I can tell you it's kind of hard to see because, again, limitations of video recording technology, but I can see everything in this room. The bouncing light here with this gun at the low ready, and it's pointing at a dark colored carpet in my office, a dark gray carpet. I can see enough to illuminate everything in this room very easily with the Surefire head, so I don't have to point the gun up at things in order to get it illuminated. Okay, so now I've switched back to the OKW head, same thing in the low ready position. And now, again, it's hard for you to see because, again, I have this here. I can still see literally everything in this room without any problems. And this is a completely dark room. So I can see everything, but I have less peripheral. I still have peripheral by bouncing things off. And if I were to go high ready, you can see here. So if I come up high ready and I'm looking like this, bouncing it off the white ceiling, now you can see very well in the room, and I can see much more generally when I bounce high and off of something like a bright ceiling. But even if I'm in low ready like this and coming in from a low ready position, I have the ability to see everything in the room still. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're saying, John, okay, but we got to see this outside. So, okay, we can see this on the inside here, and we can see what the beam does and all that stuff. And for indoors, man, I think that either one of these would be fantastic. For indoors, the throw isn't going to matter all that much, but the reason that I did put the Modlite head on, the OKW, is because outdoor use means I want to be able to really light things up a long way away. And of course, I got to be able to show you that. And I'm going to do that, so let's go outside. For this test, I took the light off the rifle because I live in the suburbs, and the local constabulary will not understand if I am making videos for y'all to watch and muzzling my neighbors' houses and stuff with a rifle. So took it off so that we're not worried about that. Well, here we are in that kind of twilighty dusk. I'm standing just in my neighborhood, and you can see a very typical thing that we might see here. And that is that we have some known distances out here. So I'm going to just kind of show you what each one does. So first of all, I'm using a handheld here. My handheld, this is the EDC L2T. And so I have the Surefire head on first. Now, if you can just barely see, you can see that car that you can just barely see on the other side of the street light is at 25 yards. I have already measured that distance. There's a truck past that that's right at 50 yards. There are a couple cars that will move over to the other side of the street. We'll be able to see at 100 and 110 yards. So first with the Surefire head, this is what we see. So when I want to illuminate that car, I can do that pretty easily, in fact, okay? So if I'm illuminating the car, you can see that car at 25 yards pretty easy. Now then, if I go back and I want to look at the pickup truck behind it, you start to see the fact that that is a little bit more difficult. But let's move out in the street. We'll be able to maybe see that a little bit better. So now if I want to see that pickup truck back behind, you can see now, I can see his headlights and his grill, those kinds of things. I can identify that stuff pretty well. Now, of course, the problem for that is this is a high output 1500 lumen light, but of course that candela at about 18,000 candela, it's seeing more around. You can see how much spill we have here and how much around us, but it's not directing so much of it out, which if I'm out here and trying to run this rifle, I can only really identify out to about 50 yards. Back on the other side of the road, you can just see the red tail cap there on the car, but you can also see, you can just start to see the fact that we can illuminate the house that's all the way at the end of this block, and we're seeing enough of that. Would I be able to identify somebody there? I'm not positive of that. So it's not bad, but that car out there that's at the other side is right at 110 yards. And that's about the limit of where I feel like I can really use this light to go from darkness over there to now light in there and just barely see it. That's pretty significant, but let's change the heads and see what we find. Now, one thing I want to say is one of the problems here is we have a photonic barrier, right? So the street light kind of forms a photonic barrier. So photons have to be well organized to get through that beam, not get knocked out by that beam, hit whatever it needs to hit, and come all the way back. That's a topic for another day, but a well-organized, uniform beam really helps with that. So now let's go back here with the Modlite head on, and we can see right there, we can really, really illuminate that car. If I move over to the pickup truck, boy, can I see it immensely. Now you notice I have less spill on this particular light, but much better throw. Now as I look, I can identify parts back there of the car. I'm not sure that the iPhone camera lens is going to be able to see all that, but I can tell you that I can see and illuminate the house's stuff back there at 125, 130 yards well. So I can see what's going on at about 150, 180 yards. If I have good darkness, I could even see a lot farther than that, maybe 300, 400 yards. But in an urban setting like this, which is where I'm going to fight, a suburban setting, if God forbid we had something like this and I had to pop somebody, I've got at least 125, 130 yards worth of the ability to identify a target. I like it. So wrapping up here, the OKW head. Man, the throw on this head is really something else. I mean, really something else. I think it doesn't hurt me to have indoors. Doesn't make it any less usable for me as a searchlight. It doesn't make it any harder for me to identify threats. In fact, it does a better job on the inside, and it lets me really reach out a long way when I have an outdoor shot at night, especially through photonic barriers. And so I think it was a good shift. Now that said, you go to Big Tex Outdoors or wherever else you want to buy it. Of course, I'm going to recommend Big Tex. They're a sponsor of the channel now. Go to them, support their products. These great people, and the prices are good. But this isn't cheap stuff, guys. So the M600 dual fuel with the tape switch together is about a $300 piece, right? So it's about 250 bucks for the light and about 50 bucks for the tape switch. So that right there is 300 bucks, and that may put it past the budget of some people. I think it's worth it because I think the brightness and the reliability are worth it. Now then, when you add the OKW head, now you're talking about bumping that up significantly. I bought this one on a blem. So Modlite had several that they had some slight blemishes on, and so I bought it for 175 bucks. If you go to their website today, or you go to Big Tex and buy it at Big Tex, $250 for the OKW head. And so you're talking together the light here, gosh, man, 550 bucks, which I get it. Some people are gonna go, man, John, that's more than I spent on my rifle. Well, it's not more than I spent on this rifle, okay? So this is the rifle that I depend my life on and protect my family with if we had a without rule of law or significant situation. And this whole rifle together is about $5,000, is the honest truth of things. It's a little bit more than that, honestly. If I put, a more expensive optic on it, it could go way up from there. But this is an important part to be able to identify your target, important part. And so it's something that I'm willing to invest in, and I recommend it as well. So if you got a little bit of coin to spend, you're not buying a budget AR, you're not putting together something on the cheap, having an M600 dual fuel, really recommend as a great light. Put the Modlite head on it, now you can reach out forever away, basically as far as you can see, even with a 1 to 10 scope.